3 reasons why your team in this situation, the New Orleans Saints, will win the division, the NFC South, in 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the PFF NFL, some serious letter acronym situation going on there. All right, can't wait to hear it. 3 reasons why the Saints will win the division. Now, I don't think the Saints are going to win the division. I'm pretty high on Tampa this year, although I will say we'll see what happens with Tristan Wirfs, but I do think Tampa is legit this year. I think Baker Mayfield is not a bad long shot to an MVP, but we'll listen nonetheless.
A team is looking for a franchise quarterback right now. That is the New Orleans Saints. But, Dawn, they should have, whoever the quarterback is, whether it be Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler or even Jake Haener maybe, an improved offensive line in front of them.
I would assume it's going to be Shuck as the highest.
Yeah, and okay, good first step here. The offensive line, no doubt. The offensive line will be greatly improved. All we really need is for Kelvin Banks to be good. If Kelvin Banks is what Talise Fuaga was last year, I think we're good to go. So he doesn't need to be, anything beyond that. But the only thing that would really mess this up is if Banks is a bust. If Banks is unplayable, or if he's, just getting dominated, and all of a sudden, because think about it then, if Banks is bad, you probably have to move Fuaga back to left. You probably have to move Penning back to right tackle. This is if Banks is like unplayable, Trevor Penning levels of disaster at tackle. Then you might have to play Dylan Radunz at guard. So then all of a sudden you've got Fuaga, Radunz, McCoy, Ruiz, and Penning, which is way different than what we're looking at right now with cornerstone left tackle, cornerstone right tackle, center, Eric McCoy doing his thing, and a high ceiling, elite level run blocker at left guard and Trevor Penning. So we need Banks to work out. If he works out, I think the offensive line will be really good. It's very difficult for a team to be really bad with a really good offensive line. If the Saints have a top 10 offensive line, they're not going to be the 32nd team in the NFL. It never happens like that. You can't be that good in the trenches and just all of a sudden, boom, you lose a bunch of games.
Draft pick of the bunch and the most recent one for sure. Look, no matter who the quarterback is, they got to improve on the offensive line. And I really like the idea of drafting Kelvin Banks Jr. with the 9th overall pick. We're assuming he's going to play on the left side. Move Talise Fuaga back to the...
That's all happened. All right, that is how it's going to play out. Has there ever been a top 10 pick less talked about than Kelvin Banks? I was thinking about that the other day. Like, Kelvin Banks is the 9th overall pick. It really shows you how unsexy the trenches are. Like, I guess you could even say like Mimbu or like some of these other guys who were, even like Will Campbell, I guess. Like, these guys, you just don't hear anything about them. You don't hear anything about these guys.
The right side where he played in college. And then on the inside, you get a healthy Eric McCoy, who played really well when he was healthy last year. Still Cesar Ruiz, kind of a competition for that left guard spot. Maybe it's Trevor Penning moving from tackle into left guard. But either way, a healthier offensive line and a better tackle duo. Because Fuaga was not bad last year, even adjusting to the left side. But you get Banks at his natural position, Fuaga at his natural position. No matter who the quarterback is, his offensive line has to be better. That's where it's...
Yeah, think about long term. Like, if Banks does work out, you're talking about Banks at left tackle on a rookie contract, Fuaga at right tackle on a rookie contract, Trevor Penning at guard, who would be after this year on his first second deal, and then you got McCoy and Ruiz. But to have a left tackle, right tackle on rookie contracts and a quarterback on a rookie contract is kind of crazy. And it's, especially when you factor in too, like the coaches being as young as they are. That's pretty solid. That is financially, I don't want to put the cart before the horse here, but that's how teams enter Super Bowl windows really fast, is when you look around and these really expensive positions, like your tackle positions, your quarterback, it's all handled. And now it's like, okay, we're saving a ton of money here, so let's go invest it somewhere else. All of a sudden now you're ready to compete. Now we're a long way away from knowing if that's what's going to happen, because we don't know how Tyler Shuck's going to be. We don't know how Spencer Rattler's going to be. We don't know how Kelvin Banks is going to be. We don't know how any of this is going to play out. But if it does work, you'd be in a much better spot financially than you can't even really fathom it. and then you factor in Chris Olave has 2 years left on his deal, right? So like even if you keep going beyond that, if it works, the Saints are in an unbelievable situation financially.
It's going to start for the Saints is in the trenches, I think, especially offensively this year with Banks and some shuffling going on. If that happens, and they showed it last year, when their offensive line was functioning last year, the few games that it was, they were pretty good on offense. Yeah. They have enough talent to succeed.
Yeah, they were like the best offense in the last 30 years. It was those first 2 games. I mean, it was nuts. Like, it was the craziest. I mean, what a time to be alive it was after that Dallas game. But that kind of shows you. Now, granted, everyone else was healthy. Like, the team wasn't as banged up as they were at the end. But it shows you when you can dominate the trenches like that, and your offensive line is as good as it was in those couple of games, you got a puncher's chance against anybody.
Got to be better in the trenches.
I'm a big fan of getting Talisa Fuanga back to right tackle, and obviously I love Kellen Banks Jr. He was my number 1 tackle in the draft last year, and now you have him and Talisa Fuanga. I love that pair of tackles there for New Orleans. And also,
yeah, if Banks is good, like, it's weird because everyone's kind of penciled Banks in. It's just like, oh, nope, he's good, and I hope he is. But if he's really good, if he's even better than Fuaga, if he's really good, like elite level rookie left tackle kind of level play, watch out.
So helping out the quarterback, whoever it is hopefully healthy receivers, because last year the Saints receiving corps was very, very banged up.
Yeah, so I've made this point a million times, but people look at the roster. If you just kind of haphazardly look at the roster from 2024 to 2025, you're going to see the exact same names, right? You're going to see no one new across the offensive line besides Kelvin Banks, across the offensive line and the receiver corps, except Brandon Cooks. But in reality, the Saints have a brand new left tackle, brand new left guard, brand new center, brand new right tackle. They've got a brand new wide receiver 1, a brand new wide receiver 2, and a brand new wide receiver 3. That's kind of insane. And potentially a brand new quarterback. That's crazy. Oh, and a brand new head coach and a brand new DC. For a team to have that kind of turnover is nuts. And what I mean by that is Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, they are basically new players from last year because they didn't play. Kelvin Banks is literally a new player, but Eric McCoy is basically a new player. He didn't play. So you have to add in those upgrades from the combination of Shane Lemieux, Lucas Patrick, who the hell ever else, Connor McGovern, and then the wide receiver group of Mason Tipton, Bub Means, Dante Pettis, MVS, Stone Cold Kevin Austin, whoever was out there, right? So the upgrades, like, they aren't roster additions, but they are on field additions. So that's why I think if it all works out, you could absolutely see a night and day difference from 2024 to 2025 that's going to really catch people off guard. It's not the same, but it's almost like if 5, 6, 7 years ago, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green get hurt 2 weeks into the regular season, the Warriors are ass. The next year they're back. It's like the upgrade from who the hell ever to Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, you have to factor that in, even though they were already on the roster. All right, so a lot of the metrics, a lot of the numbers, a lot of the analytics that are being transferred over from 2024 to 2025 are skewed.
Chris Olave missed 9 games. Rashid Shaheed missed 11 games last year. It's why they had the 8th worst receiving grade in the NFL last year. With those two healthy, the Saints receiving corps can creep back towards average. You're hoping that those two are healthy. Those are your 2 top receivers right now in that offense, and with both of them missing more than half the season last year, it's why the Saints had so much struggles in that receiving game.
Well, you could feel it when they're signing guys off the street like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and they're trying to make big plays with those guys. Look, Chris Olave is a top 15 receiver in this league. Rashid Shaheed is a dangerous deep threat and punt returner for that matter, and it was just too much relying on Alvin Kamara in the passing game and then a whole lot of guys at receiver who shouldn't have had.
But even then, Kamara gets hurt, right? Like, Spencer Rattler, in half of the games he played, he also led the team in rushing. That is nuts. He was handing the ball off to Jordan Mims and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It really is. It seems like fiction, but it's crazy to think about. It's crazy to think about that roster that he's taking into Green Bay, that he's playing the Washington Commanders and almost beating the Commanders. Nuts.
Starting reps last year, but if you get those two back healthy, you start to feel like, okay, we can get explosive on the outside again, and that's what really opens up the run game and everything else and takes some pressure off that offensive line.
What about that defense, though, Dawn? That secondary could be a pretty solid one next year.
There's some talent, and it's interesting because we just had the recent retirement of Tyrann Mathieu, but I also think you've got a pretty good replacement. They signed Julian Blackmon, who was a starter for the Colts the last few years. I think if you're going to replace a starting safety at this time of year, you're not going to.
Yeah, so we looked at Tyrann's PFF grade of like what he was actually contributing on the field, and it was slightly above average. So if Julian Blackmon can be average to above average, on the field, it shouldn't miss that much. Justin Reed's the man. We love Justin Reed here. He's in his prime. He will be good. He is good. And then we think Kool-Aid will take a step forward because he's so familiar with the system. This is the system that got him drafted where he was drafted. And then can Alontae Taylor find a spot? Quincy Riley, what's he going to impact as a rookie? Isaac Yiadom, like all of a sudden now you start filtering in the other players and you see where the depth is going to be. I don't think they're going to mention it, but the linebackers, all of a sudden, Demario Davis, who's been really, really good, Pete Werner, and Danny Stutzman, who's looking like Danny Studsman in training camp.
Do a whole lot better than Blackmon, but you brought in Justin Reed from Kansas City, obviously has all the experience he does, and then on the outside with some talented players. I think about Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think about Isaac Yiadom they brought back, who had his best year in New Orleans in 2023, kind of struggled last year in San Fran, but maybe he can find that magic. And then you talk about Alontae Taylor. He's a talented player, but he's got to get better in the slot. But there is talent in this secondary, even the back end at linebacker with Demario Davis and Pete Werner as well. But I think with the defensive line struggle, the way that they've had them the last few years, this team needs to be. They've been pretty good in coverage for the most part. They need to be even better than that this year if they're going to compete in this division.
Yeah, they have not won the division or made the playoffs since Drew Brees' final season in 2020. So it's been a long time for New Orleans. They're hoping to get back on top of that division in 2025. And what's a wide open division in the NFC South? Next up.
Not bad, fellas. There's talent, ladies and gentlemen. Will it equal wins? How many wins, whatever. But there are talented players on this team. There really are. And now it's just, okay, can they figure it out? Can they kind of develop into something? But all right, let me know in the comments below what you think. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.